Pressure is building on Donald Trump's transition team to release an internal report, memo, and some affidavits that accuse Boris Epshteyn, the right-hand man of Donald Trump, who helped put his cabinet together, of operating an illegal pay-to-play operation where he put his hand out for bribes in order for him to promote certain people to be cabinet members for Donald Trump. I did some reporting on this already, but we got some new reporting. We've got Public Citizens, a public interest group, who's made a demand by letter on the Trump transition chair people, Howard Lutnick and Linda McMahon, demanding that the American people require that the pay-to-play internal memo be released. We need to know just how corrupt the Trump administration is, or the Trump administration-elect is, on the way in. Now, there's some troubling reporting about what's contained within that report, internal report that was prepared by the general counsel for the Trump transition group, somebody that actively fought for and wanted the job of White House counsel, but did not get it. But that report was prepared by David Warrington, and David Warrington delivered the results to the chief of staff, or incoming chief of staff, Susie Wiles. And here's a piece of it that's the most troubling. A former Missouri Governor Eric Greitens, who's a retired Navy SEAL and previously hired Epshteyn for a consulting contract when that guy, Greitens, ran unsuccessfully for the Senate in 2022, reported to the transition team doing the internal investigation in a sworn declaration that he had an uncomfortable conversation with Boris Epshteyn when he inquired about whether he should apply for the job of Navy Secretary. Now, the Navy Secretary position just went to the highest bidder for Donald Trump in John Phelan, who was, his biggest claim to fame is he was the money man for Michael Dell and making all of Michael Dell's investments. But he's never run a $250 billion, 1 million strong Navy before, nor was he ever in the Navy. So the person you think would probably be more qualified, who's got more of the leadership and management qualities to run the Navy, which is required by the code, the U.S. code, as the requirements for people who run the Navy or any of the branches. You'd think that a former Missouri governor and Navy SEAL like Eric Greitens would be the perfect candidate for the Navy, and not John Phelan, who's an art collector, and you see him at, running around with his wife and at step and repeat photos at places like Art Basel in Miami and different things like that. He lives in West Palm Beach. So Greitens reported on a sworn statement, also represented, by the way, listen to this, by Tim Parlatore, who used to represent Donald Trump in the Mar-a-Lago case. Listen to this tangled web, until he quit after the execution of the search warrant because he claimed that Boris Epshteyn interfered with him exercising independent judgment as a lawyer. So now the worm is turned, right? Parlatore represents Greitens. Greitens says that Boris Epshteyn wanted his palm greased in order for him to promote Greitens as the Navy Secretary. We now know it went to the highest bidder, the guy who donated $1.5 million to Donald Trump. If you ever wanted to know what a Navy Secretary position goes for, it's $1.5 million. That's apparently the bid ask right now. So in this affidavit, which I presume that Tim Parlatore, who doesn't like Boris Epshteyn, drafted for his client, it went on to say that that Epstein's overall tone and behavior gave Greitens the impression that there was an implicit expectation to engage in business dealings with Boris, hire him, pay him, before he would advocate or suggest the appointment of Greitens to be the U.S. Navy Secretary. This is what Greitens had in his affidavit. This created a sense of unease and pressure on my part. That's Greitens. According to the internal investigation, Greitens immediately alerted his lawyer, that's Parlatore, to the concerns, who arranged for the statement to be sent to Warrington, the general counsel, and Wiles to probe the issue, according to the interviews and documents and CNN reporting. They then looked into the matter to make an initial recommendation about whether, and they actually temporarily sidelined, apparently, Boris Epshteyn from the proximity of Donald Trump and his other entities, right? Then you had Boris Epstein trying to fire back at Tim Parlatore and the former Missouri governor and Navy SEAL Greitens. And he said, quote, "I'm honored to work for President Trump. And with this team, these fake claims are false and defamatory and will not distract us from making America great again." One of the single biggest predictors of how long you live and how good you feel while living is your metabolic health. Now, I strongly believe that you can't manage what you don't measure. And metabolic health can be difficult to measure. This is why I use levels to track my daily health metrics and habits and ultimately optimize my metabolic health. Levels helps me understand how my food and lifestyle decisions are impacting my health. In the short term, I use levels to optimize my energy levels during the day and manage weight. In the long term, I'm thinking about the many chronic diseases that are directly linked to metabolic health, including diabetes, heart disease, and Alzheimer's. I use levels with a continuous glucose monitor to get my own personalized data, which I've found to be really powerful to understand my own unique physiology. But you can also now use levels without a continuous glucose monitor. I never realized how much a simple pizza could really spike my glucose until I started using levels. Levels provides me with powerful, real-time, personalized information on how my body responds to different foods and activities. Having access to this data is a critical step to making better choices that will over time have a huge effect. Levels has recently launched some exciting new features to help you track your macros: protein, fiber, fat, carbohydrates, and sugar, and to create daily habits around your health goals. They also provide insights based on trends in your health metrics to help guide you to make decisions that will have a positive impact on your health. Metabolic health is about glucose and much more, and Levels now helps you keep track of it all. Now is a great time to get started if you've been waiting for the right time to join Levels to improve your metabolic health. Right now, Levels is offering my listeners an additional 2 free months of the Levels annual membership when you use my link levels.link/legalaf. I don't know how long this offer will last. So if you've been interested in learning more about your metabolic health, now is the time to get started. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we have a right to know if there is a petty criminal running a penny ante pay-to-play scheme is walking into the White House or not. Because that would make him financially compromised, ethically compromised, unfit to serve in any position. He should never be given a top secret security clearance, even though we know what Donald Trump's trick is up his sleeve. Sorry. It's that he doesn't care. The Justice Department and the DOJ and the FBI aren't going to clear any of Donald Trump's people for top secret security clearances. He's not even going to have them do it. He hasn't signed those particular memos with the required Presidential Transition Act of 1963 with those entities. He's just going to exercise his unilateral power as the commander-in-chief to order someone who's not qualified to have top secret security clearance. He did it in 2016 to 2020. 25 people got security clearance because Donald Trump said so, including Donald Trump. You think Donald Trump would be able to clear a security clearance right now with his indictments and convictions and the allegations and the special report that's about to come out against Mar-a-Lago? I don't think so. If Donald Trump hadn't won re-election, I think they would hold him up. If he was just an average citizen, I don't think they let him take a White House tour. I've been to that little security hut before you take a White House tour. They're tough. I'm not sure they would have let Donald Trump back in on a tour. So the purpose of something like Public Citizens making the demand, and there's going to be a lot of public interest groups going after Donald Trump in lawsuits, 1,000 or more. And hopefully you're going to want to know about them here on Legal AF. So take a minute, hit the free subscribe button on Legal AF when you get over there, and also here on the MeidasTouch Network. Subscribe to the MeidasTouch Network. But I applaud public interest groups like Public Citizen. Get that report. Make it a public records request. I think we're entitled to it. The transition team they act like they're a private entity and they're taking private money and they're not subject to anything. I think they're a public or quasi-public entity that has public records obligations. And that we can submit a Freedom of Information Act request and get our hands on it. And I think we will. They're trying to not have that happen in the Trump transition world. That's why they don't want to sign any of the required agreements in the transition and just try to see to the pants it on the way in, leaving America more compromised. But I don't want a guy who's trying to grease his palms being anywhere near the presidency. And so I don't see Boris Epshteyn being appointed to anything that requires Senate confirmation if Donald Trump takes him with him. I haven't heard him announced that he'll be in any Senate confirmed position, even though he's been the top henchman for Donald Trump for a long time. I think Donald Trump puts him somewhere where he can't hurt himself. Could hurt us, though. That doesn't require Senate confirmation. Some sort of minister without portfolio that can just roam around and advise Donald Trump. He may end up being a special advisor to the president. I think that's the last spot he'll put him. Trump's still trying to fill his cabinet. I don't think he's getting FBI director, which we're still waiting on, or deputy FBI director. I think that's going to Kash Patel, something like that. But he's going to have to put Boris somewhere. He's not going to leave him out at a think tank. He's going to bring him in. And I think he started with Sebastian Gorka, Donald Trump. That was his trial balloon, because Sebastian's, allegedly crazy, and nobody wants to work with him to be in the intelligence community, who runs around wearing a military tunic with a Hungarian medal on it from his father's organization that was tied to the Nazis. I think they just floated Gorka. Let's see if we can get Sebastian Gorka in. That'll be a hoot. And then if that doesn't work, then then we'll try Kash Patel, and then we'll try Boris Epshteyn. This is the best and the brightest that Donald Trump is picking. Yeah. And we're going to continue to follow it right here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. Follow me, Michael Popok, on all things Legal AF here on the MeidasTouch Network at Hot Takes. I got a new show, Popok Live, on Tuesday nights right here at the intersection of law and politics, and then a new channel, Legal AF, the YouTube channel, which you can go over there and help us build it to 500,000. We're at 340,000 in just 2 months with your help. So until my next contribution to all things Legal AF, I'm Michael Popok, and I am reporting. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.